are, shocking but not surprising. All of this makes perfect sense. I mean, the story has an internal logic that this was the eve of the election. This was a very close election. This would have been deeply embarrassing to candidate Donald Trump had it come out. So he paid the money to make the problem go away, to bury the problem for the current for the period leading up to the election. How did he do it? He used Michael Cohen. And he did it through the subterfuge of Cohen laying out the money in the first place. But why would Michael Cohen do that unless Trump told him to do it? It just doesn't make any sense otherwise.
So, Jeffrey, do you see new legal jeopardy for President Trump in these 20 pages of what Michael Cohen's going to testify to in a couple of hours?
Absolutely. There are a panoply of legal problems that arise from this opening statement. And we should just say, this is just the opening statement. Presumably he will have other things to say. But there are a panoply of legal problems. They are not proof of crimes. I want to be sure to say that. This doesn't prove that Donald Trump is a criminal. However, issues of campaign finance law, bank fraud, crimes involving the use of his foundation, he is implicated in all of that here. Now, it is not proof in and of itself, but there are a wide variety of legal problems raised here. And also, the other issue that we don't know about is, what did the president say in his sworn statements to Mueller about these issues? Because undoubtedly many of these issues are relevant to the questions that Mueller asked. And does Cohen contradict those sworn statements, which would raise the issue of perjury? So there are a lot of issues raised, but I don't want to give the impression that somehow Donald Trump is now guilty of crime simply because of what Michael Cohen said.
And Jim Sciutto, one point here to what Jeffrey's saying, the panoply of legal issues that are raised here, some of them have to do with the special counsel investigation, but many of them don't. Many of them are outside the purview of what the special counsel is investigating. So whether or not the special counsel in the report that comes out in the next few weeks names the president or implicates the president in that doesn't disprove the allegations being made by Michael Cohen when it gets to the charity, when it gets to necessarily the hush money payments, when it gets to other potential illegalities.
And to be clear, the testimony that Cohen's going to make today relates to the central question of the special counsel's investigation, relates right to the question, did the Trump campaign cooperate with, have communication with, collusion, the word thrown around, but really have a conspiracy with Russia as it was interfering in the election? As Jeffrey said on the hush money payments, et cetera, you don't have proof of that, but he is providing testimony to that question and on two central issues. One, were they in contact with WikiLeaks, members of the Trump campaign, his advisors? Did they get forewarning of WikiLeaks releases? On that issue, Cohen says he's going to testify that Stone did have direct contact with Julian Assange of WikiLeaks in the midst of this and got forewarning of releases and communicated those to the president. That does make a line under the president, because it's our understanding that he testified to the special counsel that Stone did not give him any forewarning. But then also on the issue of the Trump Tower meeting in June 2016, Cohen at least saying that Donald Trump Jr. seemed, in Cohen's telling of it as he was in the room, seemed to give his president foreknowledge of that meeting as well, that the president's reaction was great. So there's a lot in his testimony today. And as Joe noted earlier, our understanding was that he was not going to be able to go there in the, to the Russia strands of this investigation in this testimony, but apparently he is, and to two key elements of that investigation. And that's significant. Yes, the president will attack his credibility, but Robert Mueller has enormous resources to test those accounts. It occurred to me as he was describing this phone call on speakerphone where Roger Stone tells him that these WikiLeaks releases are coming, his secretary, Donald Trump's secretary, was there, put the call through. She's been interviewed by the special counsel. There are other witnesses who would have been asked questions about this and could have corroborated or knocked it down, could have corroborated this. But keep that in mind. And Robert Mueller has tremendous resources to get electronic records of any communications between Stone and Assange. So you have the hush money side of this, but you have central questions of the special counsel's investigation as it relates to Russia that Michael Cohen's going to be providing information under oath on today.
I mean, I think Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump Organization, has been cooperating, we've been told, and has immunity. Joe, go.
Yeah, I think there's one other point. Most of the testimony this morning, at least the prepared testimony, is about things that the Southern District is looking into. The Southern District is not stopping him from testifying today, which must mean, and Jeffrey will have a better perspective on this than me, that they're pretty confident that they've gathered what they need to gather on these issues. Because otherwise, they would step in and say, not yet. So I think that's a pretty significant point.
Jeffrey? Is Joe right?
I think that's probably true. That, I mean, look, he has been extensively debriefed by both the Southern District and the Mueller investigation. And prosecutors are always sensitive to the issue of repeating a story over and over again because you just open yourself up to the possibility, if you testify down the line, that you will have contradicted yourself. But I think prosecutors also understand there is a public interest here that is separate from their criminal prosecution. The case against Cohen is over. So it's not like there's any jeopardy to the case against him. And there is a public interest, I think prosecutors recognize, in the public hearing this story. I mean, it is not just about the criminal investigation. This is about a serious matter involving the fitness of the President of the United States. And the public has an interest in hearing that, too. If I can just, add one point to something.